I'm here in the Hollywood Hills, in the valley of the Hollywood. Now, everybody wants to get to Hollywood. This is really Los Angeles, and this store should look familiar because this is Joe's store. Joe found me in 2014. He grabbed up my silly course back when it was a DVD, ingested it, reached out to me, and I negotiated his first lease for his first free laundromat. Today, Joe is earning millions of dollars with his 4, soon to be 5 laundromats. We've finally got the white whale. We've got him on tape. When will you start? What is your plan? I'll ask those questions again because I want you to seriously consider the answers. When will you start, and what is your plan? Do you love your job? Well, eventually that's going to fade. Trust me. Job stands for just over broke. And the moment you realize that you need to own the company, you will be better for it. The moment you realize that laundromats are the tact you want to take, come with me. I'm here to help you. I've learned the lessons. I went through all of the pitfalls, the stumbles, and the mistakes, and that's how we all learn. But I just want to bring you to the end, to the finish line, as quickly as I can without making those errors yourself. I have a silly course. It's extremely inexpensive. Don't tune out. Start there, then you too will have a plan. There are tons of horrific, nasty, disgusting laundromats all over the world. No matter where you live, this can be life-changing for you. I know it. I'm passionate about it. You can get my personal help, yes, but start with the course. Let's get to work. Let's get you those millions. What is your bread and butter? The job?
No, I left it.
You did?
I did.
Holy
I did. Yeah, it's been like 11 days now.
What?
I'm an unemployed,
Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Try to think back to the time when you thought laundromats might be an idea. Mm-hmm. It's been how long?
It's been about a decade.
10 years,
yeah,
by my calendar.
Yes, sir.
So if you can bring us back to that time, you were working as an accountant.
Yes. Yeah.
For a big firm, a small firm, your own firm?
Insurance company.
Okay.
Yeah. Insurance company and their financial accounting, processing reports for the management as well as reporting to the states.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Did you work for the same company 11 days ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was this a good job?
Yeah. It was a very good job. I left a 6-figure, great job. I mean, I was able to run a more than $1 million business at the same time as doing this 6-figure job. So, it wasn't, super demanding. It's not like I was an investment banker and working,
sure,
18 hours a day. It was
well,
good.
I want to compliment you because you're a highly intelligent guy. You're one of the smartest people I know. I can tell I'm a linguist. I don't have a college education, but this isn't about me. If you can't speak eloquently, you can't really get much done in life, in my opinion. And here you are. And that's probably why you finally decided to do this. You were fearful, if I'm right, that the job was going to find out that you were moonlighting. So talk about that. How would that doesn't make sense to me, but explain.
So for a long time, I was doing both at the same time, and a while ago it became clear that I didn't really need to do the job, the job. But for the security of my family, that comfort of that, the wife knowing that every 2 weeks a paycheck was coming in,
sure,
we were going to be able to pay the mortgage, and all those things that when you own a business, you don't necessarily know, even if you know. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't upset that apple cart, and I didn't find anything out that might, get people upset.
Was that all in your mind? I mean,
yeah,
really?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew for the last couple of years, I've known that, and even if they said, Joe, you got to pick, I can't pick, against a company I own. I would have gone and done this.
Right. Moonlighting is a funny thing because years ago it was always, oh, they catch you moonlighting. You know, you're swinging a pickaxe all day long, and then you have your own ditch digging company,
Exactly.
and they tend to get upset. But here,
Totally
did anyone? I'm fascinated. Did anyone at work know that you have laundromats?
No.
Well, that's a
and that
yes
could
or
be
no
debated.
question,
It could be debated. You know, I said some things at certain times, and I know there was times when I was screen sharing with my boss on, you know, working on a project, and you know, my email pops up and it says pick between my corporate email and my personal email that's clearly it
so
says
you're in your
laundry.
cubicle and the boss is like looming over your shoulder and you're thinking, oh God, they're gonna see the porn. And but was it real, or that's like one of the moments?
No, it was in my mind in that, you know, I know that even if my worst fears happened, it really wouldn't have been that bad. And it's been years since there would have been any ramification. You know, maybe the first couple of months that I ran a laundromat, I couldn't have just walked away from the job. I couldn't have. But it quickly got to where, you know, I was making a lot more here than I was there. But it was just the fear.
Let me tell you, I was a private investigator for 12 years. When people close to me, we've been friends for years, and all of a sudden I'll say, oh yeah, when I was blown up in the Navy, or when I was a PI, and they're like, well, I mean, what haven't you done? But I started doing side work, and I had the corner office, and I had 12 employees under me, and the side work got to be so big that I felt guilty almost every day because that was what I was doing, and my paycheck was 1/8 of what I was earning when that fax machine rang. But then the boss found out, and he's like, I don't care. So it alleviated all of that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, fast forward to building the laundromat. I started the laundromat thing when I had that job, walked away from the job, walked away from doing the work and all of it. And, you know, here I was realizing that all of those fears were not real. So for you, same thing. We're talking 6 figures, benefits and insurance, etc. You have how many kids?
2.
2 kids. The wife. Does the wife's job have benefits?
It does.
Okay.
And
I assume that's part of the.
We switched over so that everything is through the insurance through her for that reason. I mean, we could figure out a way, if anything ever happened with her job, we could figure out a way and we could afford to pay for it. But you know, why not get insurance through them when it's offered? And
no,
she has a great job too.
That's the biggest thing. And I'll get off the topic, but oddly, most of the people that have worked with me and have ended up with 2, 3, 7 stores, they keep the job because they go in there like the movie Office Space and they kind of phone it in, and they're like, whatever. They can't help but think that they're excited about the day when they walk in and tell the boss to shove it. But then when the time comes and they're earning so much, they're like, why wouldn't I just phone in the work, whatever the work is? And you know, as much as they hate it, now they have that smile on their face and they're kind of like, whatever, fire me. And they never do. And
that was one of the things that kept me there, is my direct supervisor. It's a confusing structure. I have a few direct supervisors, but the one guy who I'd point to and say, that's my boss, he's just a terrific human being, just a sweetheart, and I stayed a lot of it. In fact, the day that I chose to leave was right after a deadline that I knew we would have to take care of together, and I knew that the week leading up to it was going to be hell, but I wanted to stick through that for him. Because he's just a terrific human being.
Did you say, this is why, and I've got a string of laundromats and I got $1 million a year company?
No, I didn't, and I told them, which is 100% the truth, that I have my family, I have my daughter, they're the most important thing to me, my family, and we were going from 100% virtual to sometime back in the office.
Okay.
And that would have conflicted. That was, if I could point to one single thing, that was the thing that said, you know, now is the time, was because I couldn't go back into the office and still provide the care for my daughter. My wife's job is a little more, the schedule is set. And she doesn't have the flexibility.
Well, that's not exactly the story that everybody wants to hear. They want you to go in there and put $10,000 in
desk
cash,
over.
yeah, and kick over his potted office plant and say, I quit. But if he's a good guy, then yeah, that's phenomenal. So let's talk about how over the years you have become my pit bull online. So folks don't know when, I mean, there's a lot of controversy around all the online stuff, and you're one of the folks. And when somebody says something stupid on Facebook or Reddit or any of these forums, and it relates to me, Joe is usually the one that jumps in there and baits these people, which is what I love about you. He doesn't just say, you're wrong, I love Danny, work with him. He will normally, and maybe you can point to one specific, but somebody says something stupid or wrong or nothing's free, and then you jump in there and you'll say, oh, why do you say that? That's what I love about your interactions.
Ask them a question, get them to contradict themselves or not be able to answer it.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things that you're asking me, what's the story that I want to tell? And it's the whole nothing's free, right? And, this isn't, I don't have a specific one, but it's this thought process. All of the laundromat operators out there, that misery loves company, and they don't want anybody to possibly think that there could have been a better way than the way they got into it. The way they got into it was absolutely the best way, and if anybody else does it differently, they're destined for failure, and they're, if they are successful, they're just incredibly lucky. So the whole nothing's free. So they want people to pay for the lease, to buy a lease, to buy the infrastructure, and then they're going to have to retool because nobody's selling. I'm not selling this place. This place is great. It makes me a ton of money, and it would take more money than anyone is going to pay to pry it away from me, right? And anybody that has a similar setup is going to be the same way. The ones that are being sold are the ones that are, questionable. They need some work. They need whatever. So people say nothing is free. You have to go and you have to buy a laundromat. And if you do this free laundromat, but what about all the money you're going to have to invest into equipment? Which is just ridiculous, because if you go and you buy a laundromat for $50,000 or $100,000, where most of the beginners are going to go, there's very few beginners that go, yeah, okay, I'm going to go drop $2 million on this fabulous store that's great. No, they say, all right, this one is kind of at the bottom of the barrel, the lower rung, the entry-level starting point. And they get a laundromat that they are going to have to retool. Immediately they're going to have to retool. But the problem is they've got 3 years left on the lease. So how are they going to retool it, right? All right.
It's funny because as you're talking, I'm finishing your sentences in my mind because I know this. What we really need to do is get some skeptic, and they wouldn't be willing to join our little band of merry men. But imagine if we had one of these skeptical douche nozzles sitting here firing questions. Yeah, and you say, oh, but you had to pay for the paint on the walls, and you got that television from Walmart, and that employee is being paid by the hour, and they just don't get it. And it's easy, isn't it, to go on there and say nothing's free. Exactly.
And here's the thing. Money was paid for all of this stuff. It was all purchased. It wasn't free. It was paid for, but I haven't paid for any of it. My customers have paid for everything around here. There's
a couple years ago, I thought about going away from the free laundromat verbiage for about a week. I was like, what else would I call it? Just because folks like to say nothing's free, no. And even it's hard for even you probably to give me the 3-sentence bus stop conversation. You're talking to your aunt who you haven't seen in 30 years, and she shows up and says, Joe, I can't believe you're not an accountant anymore. What the hell is wrong with you? Try to explain to Aunt Betty how it works. How is it free? And I know that you're smart enough to come up with those 3 sentences with proper punctuation. So how does it work?
Find a broken down, run down, decrepit old mat. Contact the landlord and negotiate a long-term, sustainable lease. Retool the laundromat. and make a ton of money. That's not a run-off sentence.
That was pretty good. That was 3 cents. All right, we're done. Good night, everybody. So the thing that I love, I don't have to always tap anyone when it comes to these things. I've learned, it irks me, and I think it irks you as well, when someone's on a forum online and says, DAngelo's full of shit. Or the greatest one is, they'll go on Facebook, for instance, and they'll say, has anyone seen Danny's course? What did you think? And then a dozen people, you can finish this sentence, will say, oh, he's a charlatan and there's nothing's free. But the question was, have you seen the course and what did you think? And the people that are responding have not. And you're absolutely right. You've come up with one of the best, the most brilliant, poignant point anyone has ever made, that misery loves company. And what you mean is that I don't know the percentages, Joe. I don't lie about numbers. Numbers are finite. You're an accountant. I'm a mathematical retard. These folks like to say it works this way because it's what I did, and it can't work any other way. And we also want to talk about the progression of the YouTube machine, what's happened since 2019 and all that. But my God, go on Facebook and say, should I buy a Ford or a Chevy? Everybody who owns a Ford is going to say, I love it, right? Or I'm a Dodge man my whole life, so don't buy either. But what if you say, what's the best truck? You're going to have to come back and say, for what job? Yeah. Is it leisure? Is it pleasure? Is it a fleet vehicle? What's your price range? And that the forums are hilarious because it's always the ones that get the most traction. One just got posted yesterday. I'm looking at a $450,000 laundromat, and then they give a spec sheet that's literally this long.
It's got 18 machines.
18 machines. Right, that was yesterday. It was 19. It was 19 machines, and I'm like, stop what you're doing. You don't want a laundromat with 19 machines. You'll never make a penny. But yet, all these laundry experts are going in there and saying, well, you have to answer this and understand that, when they didn't read what he wrote, which is there's 19 machines, run. And somebody will write run, and somebody will show Forrest Gump, doing the thing. But the reality is, you can't put a McDonald's in a walk-in closet. It just will not work, and you certainly should never try to operate a laundromat that's that small. But I'm reading through it, if you take the time, and it says that their yearly maintenance is $500. It's like, come on. Why are you bothering? The dam has burst, and you're over here trying to buy parakeet food. I just made that up. It's just total nonsense. But yet these people, whom I presume have stored, and then Peter or you or someone else will go in there and go, like, you can't even bother commenting because it's so ignorant. Yeah. It's just so, and this is a newbie who we should be, and then normally I only see these when someone evokes my name and tags me like you do, or someone else says, hey, somebody mentioned you. I'm like, oh God. I have texted you at all hours saying, just look at this. And I know that you're going to look at the thing and go, all right, I just envision you, let's have some, but there's passion. I think we're both passionate about this. You're doing it, and you don't want to see someone else screw up. And the other 90% of people are attacking this problem from every direction, but they're really not trying to help. They're just being keyboard warriors. Yeah.
So early on, I'll say that I was just as righteous and fervent about free laundromat, and I still am. I would never pay for a laundromat, but I've come around to the understanding that there's lots of different things out there. There might be some guy who has that $2 million store. Let's say I put this one up, and I'm not saying I'd sell it for $2 million, but let's say I put up for $2 million. There might be some doctor out there, and that's the best thing for him. I think it's a terrible idea to bite at that, but okay.
Why would he buy this store? Because you would give the proper numbers, you'd show everything, you'd lay it all out, you'd say, don't replace the tile, here's why the place is white, all of it, and you'd look at your income, and you'd show them why it makes sense to buy it at this price. There's no sale, this is the price, period. You'd march in, or have me do it, you'd sign a new 15-year lease, you'd do that right away, and everything's golden on paper. but I think I'm finishing your sentence. Why would he buy it when he can do that across town?
He can, exactly. So much of the conversations I've stepped away from just saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And it's more of, I do try to get them to think about it and think about, why would I do this? Why would I do that? And in the end, it always comes back to, it's stupid to buy a laundromat, to pay somebody for the rights when there's so many of them out there that you could go and scoop up.
Everywhere. I call it baiting and you call it debating. You're saying that you're smart enough to trap them into.
Yeah, and it's.
I tell people all the time, because I'm getting emails every day. I'm feathering through dozens of emails from newbies, and it's the preponderance of it is, hey, I found a store. Can you evaluate it? Here's the price. Da da da. And I read it. I don't skim it. I read it because I'm looking for a tidbit that might make sense, and then I write back, stop what you're doing. Get my stupid course, not because I want to zap you for a few dollars, but because you need to take the time and slow down.
Yeah.
Thank God you found me, because what you're doing is wrong. And then I'll leave them with a question, hoping they write back, what part of this makes sense? Why would someone sell this successful business that they're saying that's making $400,000 clear a year, and they're selling it for $400,000? And then I send it. And they either go away, or they write back and they say, I already bought the course. And then weeks later, it's a thank you. You and I could sit here and go on a million tangents forever. Bring yourself back to the time why were you thinking about laundries?
Yeah.
So you're in your cubicle, you're doing your TPS reports, and you're with a good company, and here we are. Why Laundromats? Back then.
So I remember telling you this on our very first conversation. I know this isn't for you,
sure.
but I remember this story, and it's one I'll remember it till the day I die. That I was trying to apply the real estate model to laundromats, and I was thinking about buying a piece of crap, slapping some paint on the walls, and list it, flip it, and sell it. I didn't know anything. I would have failed miserably if I tried to do that, but that was my intention.
Okay.
Was buy something for 50 grand. I looked on BizNet or one of the things, and saw like the cheapest ones I could possibly find out there, 50 grand. So I'm like, all right, this one's 50, and then these other ones, there's these crazy ones for a couple million, but then there's a lot at like 300 grand. It's like that's
always
easy,
the price. Yeah.
That's an easy 250 grand. Paint, through the floors. I could probably do that. Again, I'm thinking of a real estate, a residential real estate flip. I'm like, 2,000 square feet. I could do that. $5 grand into the place. I'm in for 55. Sell it for, let's say I really did, cut the bottom out. Sell it for 200. That's after fees and everything. I'm gonna pocket 100 grand. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go retire this afternoon because this plan is foolproof.
Right.
And then I actually started looking at it, and I came across you on YouTube and just everything, and I started to realize the error of my ways. So I'm glad that I did that before I bought anything. And fast forward, I decided to pursue your method, and I did that, and I did that, and I did that, and I did that, and we did that.
Yeah.
For years we called. And somewhere along the process, I remember having a conversation with my wife, and I said, I just need to get into the industry because I know that the guys who are already running laundromats, they're not doing this. They're not going for years and years and years out there after work and every weekend driving around LA aimlessly looking at laundromats. I know that they're not doing that. So when I get this, I'm gonna keep it. I'm not flipping anything. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna make this money, and I'm gonna get in the industry and talk to people so that when there's that place that's available and I could get into it, I'm gonna start getting those referrals because people know.
You have your foot in the door.
Exactly.
And it's funny what you said because, bro, trust me, plenty of people flip laundromats by painting the walls, putting some ferns in, and replacing the TVs. And the listings on BuyBizHell and all the other stupid sites, Facebook Marketplace, they're there. And there's just discussion upon discussion about what a great business it is. But the problem is, these consumers that are using this laundromat love this place because it has good, new or newer equipment. It's clean, it's bright, it's safe, and the air conditioning's on. And none of those things exist in these flips.
Yeah.
So you get it. The other issue is the knucklehead that's buying that business has likely never stepped foot in a laundromat. The minute that they see their first laundry, it's with a business broker on their arm who brings them in and says, look at all this stainless steel equipment. And if they stay in the store for more than 10 minutes, some customer will approach because they're in a golf shirt and say, this machine's broken, because they ripped all the out of order machines off. You know that. We don't know you. No one watching this knows you as well as I do. Give me the elevator conversation. You're no longer an accountant. You're a full-time Jesus, let that sink in. I've been trying to get this fucker on camera for years, and timing was not right. Apparently you quit your job and you didn't tell me, so here we are. Yeah. And I couldn't possibly know that, but we communicate all the time. I don't know if you have thousands of contacts in your phone. I do. And if you text me a question, you're going to get an answer. If you say Happy Thanksgiving, I might ignore you because, all right, thank you. But again, I'm passionate, and I know that when someone takes the time to text me a question, they really need that answer. And they might be standing out in the heat. They might be looking at a laundromat that they're interested in. Maybe they're walking into a meeting with a landlord, which I'll caution them, don't do that without my help. But I get that, I know that. We're all plugged in. I understand that people are really frustrated and they feel like I'm the only lifeline that they have. But I'm not, because now I'm learning from people like you. I am so bursting with pride when I walked. I've been in this store, you were off, dropping the kid off at college, but, here we are.
It's a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah. Walking
into this store. Tomorrow we're going to go to your retool store that you're retooling, right? Tell me about that. What's the process? What's going on there? Hopefully. I hope so.
You're not going to see much there.
I want to see it. I don't care what it looks like.
You're going to see the old operator, because we haven't actually broken ground.
Okay.
All of the equipment is being shipped in.
Okay.
We're going to break ground September 1st.
Okay. The old operator's still running it?
The landlord.
The landlord
is the old operator, and she's going to stay in place.
Did I negotiate this deal? No. Okay. Kids and folks at home, you don't need to use me to negotiate every single lease. I have folks that do. I have people that do not feel comfortable and confident getting on the phone. So I don't know. Tell me about this. What's the deal?
So what I could say is I'm comfortable having a conversation with the landlord. I have conversations regularly. But that being said, I'm not DAngelo, and I'm not. I'm never going to be. And I know that there's certain locations where I look at it, and by this point I've been doing it a decade. I can drive by these, and I know you say don't get excited, but there's a few that I drive by and go, yeah, I would be excited if I could get my foot in the door there. So there's a few that I don't want to blow. And I earmark those ones and say, no, Danny's going to call on this one. If the deal can be made and made appropriately, Danny can take care of it. And then there's some where I go like, I could hit a double here. I could hit a single. It's a profitable store. It's fine. But if it doesn't happen, okay, no biggie. I'm going to call up real quick.
Well, talk about the process. You're listening in on every call. You're hearing what I do. Mm-hmm. But then I made a few videos. I could go through every single YouTube video I ever made, and I could sit back and critique myself and or pat myself on the back. I could talk about what I'm doing because there's so many nuances.
Yeah.
I have new clients. We consult and we talk. And at some point, usually in the very beginning of the call now, because they're not sales calls. I'm not here to sell you. You know this. I get to know you. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning of the call, I say, what do you want from me? Why are we doing this? Like, I just need a little more knowledge before I start calling landlords. Right away, I don't care what your background is. Car salesman for 30 years, running prep school, whatever your thing is. Hard ass, Navy SEAL. I'm working right now for a negotiator in New York police negotiator. And he told me, he's like, Danny, I feel bad. I know I shouldn't be hiring a negotiator, but I talk people down off of buildings. I talk to terrorists. I have to be nice. You're not nice. I was like, all right, good. So that's the ultimate for me. And I tell everybody, you can do it, but let's do the first one together. And I'll have these folks, I was saying, they'll say, well, I'm gonna do it. And I'm, all right, boom. You're you, I'm the landlord. Do you want me to be nice or mean? And they always say mean. Okay, ring, ring, hello. And they fall apart. Yeah. You know, and I'll let them talk for a minute. Normally they'll say, hi, good afternoon, my name's Joe. Boom, I hung up on you. And they're all hurt and they're like, yeah, but I'm nervous. I'm like, bro, I'm on your side. This is an exercise and it's you and me on the phone. I'm Danny, you saw me on YouTube. I'm trying to help you. You just told me 10 minutes ago you were going to make these calls. Okay, I know I scared you. I know it was a surprise. Let's try again. I'll be nice this time. Ring, ring, hello. And then, yeah, whatever, they always fall apart. If they're really good at sales, we might get a few sentences in. And then, I'm not trying to be an asshole, I'll just say, what? No, it has a tenant. There's a tenant there. I don't know why I'm a New Yorker every time I'm being a jerk, but there's a tenant there, there's nothing I can do. They've heard me do this 700 times on YouTube potentially, right? And yet they fall apart. And then, again, it's not sales, but by the end of the call, they're like, I'm gonna go ahead and hire you, and I'm gonna let you do the first one. And that's what I'm saying. Feel free to do this, but learn there's no one else that does this. And here I am, you know, talking about me again, but there's no one else that does it, so it should be an obvious choice. There is no choice. We started working together when? A decade, so that's...
2014.
Okay.
And so we're
at
coming
the beginning.
up at the beginning of 2014.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
what change have you seen on YouTube in the laundromat venue, in the laundromat universe in recent years?
Well, when Danny started doing the landlord calls, as opposed to something like this where an operator is talking about their experience, it was mind-blowing. It was you know, earth-shattering, because being able to see those conversations happen, it was just different. My eyes were opened. When you showed maybe a few calls in the course, but it was more about the operations. Danny teaches so much about the operations of a laundromat, and that's what comes through in the course. Yes, it's about free laundromats, but the entire course is about the operation of a free laundromat, not as much. I mean, there's
That's funny because people do say that to me. They get the course or they don't, and then they say, "Oh my God, there's 90% of this is operations, advertising, do's and don'ts." You know, I don't see any no signs in here. The minute you walk in, don't sit on the tables, control your children, eat a. It's like, I hate the person that runs this place. I'll never see him or her, but I hate him. Like, why do you do that? Everybody knows you shouldn't be skipping on top of the machines. It's you know, even if you put in giant letters, use your fucking head, people are gonna think you're an idiot, so why bother? You know, why? It doesn't say, don't throw feces at the fucking zoo, because the monkeys aren't gonna listen. I just made that one up too.
When Danny began doing the landlord calls and I could actually get a view into how that conversation went, that's when I saw, and it wasn't about an epiphany about how great of a negotiator you are, but it was about, it's more than just making a phone call and saying, I see that laundromat, it's failing, I think I can do a better job, please lease it to me.
Right.
And, oh no, I don't like that rate. You must give me $1 square foot because that's what's required for a laundromat to be successful. No, it's so nuanced, and you have to listen to everything that the landlord is saying, and you have to ask them questions. And if you're not good at asking questions and listening to the answers, you shouldn't be calling landlords. You should be making sure that Danny's the one making those phone calls, because Danny will elicit those comments and have that conversation so that you're able to uncover what the landlord actually needs, so that you can craft a letter of intent that's actually going to be read and it's going to suit your needs, Because if all you're thinking about are your needs, you're gonna steamroll over what the landlord is looking for. And the landlord, if they read it at all, if they're probably not going to respond, but if they do respond, it's just going to be a whole lot of no, I can't do that, no, I can't do that, no, I can't do that, because you haven't addressed any of their needs.
I get those emails a lot. Hey, you mentioned your LOI. I paused it, I tried to copy it all during the course, or they do exactly that. And the standard is, don't just sit back on your couch and send letters of intent. You won't get the lease. Because, and here's the spiel. Let's say that you have the landlord's home address, you know their email address is correct, you know they are the landlord, that's all very difficult. You're certain the laundromat is a total piece of shit. Everything aligns. You know that the neighboring suites are paying 85 cents a square foot, and you craft this perfect LOI. And you send it to his email and snail mail. It's on parchment paper. You've signed it in blood. Are they going to open it? You don't know. If they do open it, will they read it? You don't know. Will they treat it as a farming letter and ignore it? You don't know. But chances are they're not going to call you or respond because you haven't talked to them about those points. How do you know whether or not they have a dime to spend on removing flooring or putting new AC units up? You know, all this money comes, and you know this because the landlord has it, because they're like insurance agents, right? I could talk forever, you know that about me. So store number one.
So store number one was in the south side of LA. When we first talked about it, you said, I've had a conversation with this guy before. He wants something like $2.50 or $3 a square foot. And I said, great. You know, we'd made 1 million calls by that point. So I said, great. You know, check another one off the list. He said, but you know, let's do our thing. So we called, and you know, it just kind of clicked. The whole
the time was right in his head.
Exactly. The whole process went pretty quick. So that first one happened in August of 2018. So just about 5 years ago, really today. Yeah, even that time has flown by. So that was 5 years ago. Got that store for 90 cents a square foot to start.
Come on, you can't get that rate in LA.
It's
impossible.
That's insane. It was awesome, and at that price, I remember being scared. You know, going in to sign that lease, and for the couple of days leading up to it, I was like, it was my first store, and I was scared. I was thinking about the lease payment. I was thinking about because I knew that retooling was required, and I was thinking about the price it would be to retool and all these commitments I was going to make before I saw a single penny come in. But at the end of the day, I knew it was something I wanted to do, and Laundromats
the choice is either fucking take the risk and become a millionaire, or keep going to the job.
Yeah.
Keep going to the job. And dude, I see the heartbreak, I see the fear, I point the fear out, I talk about the fear. I did an entire webinar about the fear. And I decide the minute that I plug the computer in, okay, we're gonna do this about fear. Because everybody's afraid. People don't want to dig ditches, but they're happy and they're whistling while they work. They go to work every day and they dig the damn ditch because they don't know any better. And I've seen so many people that have the information in front of them, but they don't really understand what they're gonna earn. They don't get it. And that's just not me. We're very, very different people when it comes to chutzpah, balls, you know, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
But I can't possibly emulate or put myself in your position. You know, I'm not going to die old in a bed. I know it about me. It's going to be something silly and it's going to be fun. But that's not my goal. It's just the way that I am and the way I've been with business. When you call a landlord, people have their Sharpie and their pen and their notebook, and they have all their notes ready, and they have highlighted what they think they want to say, and the minute the phone rings, it all goes out the window. With me, I never gave a because if I'm not losing money or bleeding ink, what does it matter? It doesn't. The only thing that I don't know is what's going to happen on the other end of the line. What's the landlord going to be like? You know, if they're a slow Texas drawl, I'll slow down my cadence too. There's all those little things like you said. If they need to be whipped into shape, it will happen. And I've had those people, in the 20 years I've been doing it, I've had those people come back to me and they're a different person because they're tired of sweeping the floors. What do you do lockstep that you learned in the course, if anything? What just makes perfect sense to folks?
Okay, so 24 hours. It's always going to be 24 hours.
Did I help you make that decision? Or you think without the course you would have thought like, oh, maybe it's a good idea?
Yes, you helped me make the decision. You opened my eyes to it. I was thinking, going in, I was thinking 24 hours makes sense because, you know, I already own the place. I already am paying rent. It makes sense.
You
to
pay
have
rent 24 hours, why not? Yeah.
That makes sense. And then you opened my eyes, and I forget if you said this explicitly or if this was just a realization I came to, but having the place open 24 hours and having customers coming and going is way more security than having the place locked up, even having security patrol.
You lock a door and people break in. Please tell me, I want a sign on that door that says mop closet. I'm serious. It's a small thing, but any self-respecting thief will look at that and leave it alone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't say secret. It shouldn't say private. It shouldn't say cash room. I'm not kidding. I'll buy you the damn sign. That's a small thing, but when you put mop closet on there, they're like, oh well. One customer is your best security.
Yes.
That is my line.
Yeah. This place is busy 24 hours a day. So of all, I have the most to lose here, but of all of my stores, I'm the least worried about this ever. I never worry about this store because it's constantly busy, and nobody's going to come in and mess with it because there's going to be 25 witnesses at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're just not going to do it. Versus, you know, if you have a place that it's locked up and lights are turned off, what more could a vandal or a burglar want than privacy for 8 hours to, you know, break out their blowtorch and get to work?
Right.
You know, that's terrible. Why would you ever close?
What's the worst part about running these stores? And this is new for you because you're 11 days in doing this full time. That's crazy. What's the worst part? What's the part that you dread?
You know, mathematically, I know that all of our needs are taken care of, far more than all of our needs. But when I left my job and I freed up so much time, I told myself, all right, walking away from 6 figures a year guaranteed into my bank account, really without even waking up, without getting out of bed, 6 figures is coming into my bank account. When I stepped away from that, I told myself, every week I've got to do some quantifiable, large, measurable thing to improve my business, whether it's you know, sending out an LOI or adding some ancillary income to one of the laundromats, something. I've got to do something that makes the enterprise better. So I've been out of work for 11 days or away from the job for 11 days. And, you know, that's been a little bit scary because, you know, there's been a few things that I've done, but stuff has come up and I got really nervous because stuff comes up in my life. And I looked back on the first week and I thought, what did I do to improve the enterprise? Not much. Now, mathematically, I know that's okay because, you know, I wasn't depending upon the income from the job. I was depending upon the income from the enterprise, and that's still what I'm going to be getting. And I didn't do anything to make it worse. I didn't do anything to lose income from the enterprise, but I didn't make it better last week. So you're lumping really nervous.
You're lumping all this on you, and that goes back to you. You are such a fascinating, highly intelligent person that you said, okay, justifying leaving my job, dude. Most people would say, I'm going to go buy a boat. I'm going to spend more time doing Pilates or playing smash ball. You are the exact polar opposite because you're so smart. You said, all right, if I'm losing not the income from the job or the time you have to spend in the job, but I applaud you because you said, if I'm quitting, I'm going to do more on this side. You're balancing the scales. That's, again, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
The thing that I want to say is it goes to the whole free laundromat idea, free laundromat method, and that's that, you know, nothing's free. We talked about this earlier. You can think of all kinds of ways to psych yourself out of it and to trick yourself into thinking about how terrible this might be. But it's easier to get a free laundromat and then have your customers pay for the retool than it is to save up a whole bunch of money and then go into hawk for more, for the other 80% based on what the seller is saying you're going to make.
My question, dude, every time, who would sell a successful cash business? There's no proper answer to that. There are tons of excuses, but there are no good reasons. Retirement, you have a place making you $1 million a year, and you're going to retire from that? Why? Changing jobs, getting a divorce, my partnership failed. They're all excuses. Because what you and I both know sitting here, dude, you're the guy now. You're an expert in laundromats. You should start a course. You should start yelling at the camera. I can look back on many, many things, and I'm happy to say money, love, romance, raising kids. I can look back on some of that, but this is the thing that I'm passionate about because I don't want to see people fail. That's why I do it. People are starting to ask me now, because it's come out, how I do and what I got from my stores when I sold the Empire, it's come out. And I'm getting that question from clients now. Why do you do this? And that's a pat on the back because they realize the money I'm giving you is not what you should be collecting. It's not enough. But what am I going to charge? What's going to make sense? I'm a bear to work with. You could talk on that. I'm not fun. My clients, you need to kind of bend to my will in a lot of ways, and that's purposeful because I don't want to worry. And that's the thing. I don't want to have to worry. I do. I worry about every client. I worry about their feelings. They may not seem that way because I have to rip that Band-Aid off. We went through it. I was like, dude, there comes that point, like you said, when you're standing there, and that's funny because I said that to you because you needed to hear it. I don't say that to everybody. Hey, either sign the lease or don't. I'll never see you again. And you did it, and here you are. I can't really critique this store because this is one of my clients' locations, and just about every laundromat I ever walk into, I can always pick on something, if not everything. But I've been here before, and this particular location is the product of my information and the collaboration with the operator. The operator got the knowledge in his head and understood that he would never buy a store like this, that he wouldn't give money to a failing operator. That goes back to the question, why would anyone sell a successful cash business? They don't. There are many, many excuses for the sale of these businesses, but there are no good reasons. Retirement? Fuck you, give the money to your grandkids. I'm getting a divorce. Her, keep the money, split it with her. A partnership dissolved. Them, give them half. These are excuses for selling these locations. They are not good reasons. I'm moving out of town. Why would you? Most Americans live and die in the same small community, good, bad, or indifferent. Why not live in that community with millions of dollars in your hip pocket from the laundromat that you own? I have the information for you because right now, if you're new to this, you're saying, what do I do? You have 1 million questions. Let's have a little fun. Go in the comments and ask me a question. If you don't have the course and it's not answered in the course, I will give you the course for free. It won't happen.
I'm pretty sure this hot water heater's got a few more good years left in it.